This week we're looking at local food, and one of the things that we grow very well here in Nova Scotia are apples. So we're going to use some local apples to make some apple crisp. The recipe for the apple crisp is right here, and you can also get that on my website, Fairview Family Studies. So you need 6 to 8 apples to do it, kind of depending on the size of your apples. So I've already cut up about 5 apples here, and I have another one. Mine are fairly big. So to peel your apple, you're going to take a parer. You need to use your thumb, put your thumb on the apple, put this part of the peeler under the skin, and just start bringing it towards yourself. Okay, so if you don't put your thumb there, it's really hard to do. So make sure you use your thumb sort of for balance. You want to get just under the skin a little bit so you don't take too much off, and just keep going around the apple. These apples that I'm using are Cortlands, so there's many different varieties of apples, and some are better for different things. Some are better just to eat fresh, some are better for baking. Cortland's a really good all-purpose apple. You can use it for many different things, so that's why I'm using Cortlands. But if you didn't have Cortlands, Honey Crisp is another good one. Ida Reds, those are all good local Nova Scotia apples. If you didn't have a vegetable parer, you could use a paring knife to do this. You're going to do the same thing though. Make sure you put your thumb down, and you want to get just under the skin. And this is one of the few times I'll ever tell you to bring a knife towards yourself. So you can bring the knife towards yourself, but again, being very careful to steady it by putting your thumb on the apple and kind of moving your thumb as you go along. Okay, so once you have the apple all peeled, you're ready to cut it up. Make sure you use a cutting board to do this. Okay, so you're going to just put the apple flat on your cutting board, keep your fingers back, and just saw back and forth to go straight down through your apple. Once you've got it cut in half, you've got a flat side. So put your flat side down and then cut that in half again. Okay, and do that with your other piece too. So now you've got it into quarters, and then you're just going to stand that piece up and just cut the corner. Okay, so just cut straight down and then put that where you were putting your peelings. Do that with all 4 pieces. And once you've cut out the core, you've now created another flat edge, which you can put down on your cutting board. It's always safest to cut with a flat edge on your cutting board. So now you're just going to cut that into slices. So keep your fingers back and just slice down through it into fairly thin slices and add those to the bowl. So as well as having all the apples in there, you're going to add a little bit of granulated sugar and lemon juice. And I've already measured those, so I can just dump them in. But it's 2 mils of lemon juice. So here's my, sorry, not 2 mils, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. So there's my lemon juice. And it's 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. So now you're just going to take a spoon and you're just going to toss those together just so that you have the lemon juice and the sugar all over the apples. Okay, so just do that for a little bit until you've evenly spread that around. And then you can put that in the dish you're going to bake it in. So you need about a 9 by 9 inch baking pan. And you just don't have to grease it or anything. Just dump your apples in there. Okay, get all that out. So now you're going to make the topping, which is the part that makes it apple crisp. So I'm just going to put those over here out of the way. So for your topping, you are going to start with 1/2 cup of butter and put that in a bowl. And then you have 1/2 cup of rolled oats, 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour, and 1/2 cup of brown sugar. And you're going to take all those and use your pastry blender just to mix them together. So if you sort of go down on the edge of your butter first to break it up, and as you're going, you kind of twist your wrist a bit, and that starts to break it all up and mix it together. So you don't want to do this until you have a paste. You want it to be crumbly. So once it's crumbly, you're going to stop. And as you can see, a lot of it gets all caught up around your pastry blender. So then just take your spatula, clean it off so that you can keep going until you have crumbs. Okay, so you want your crumbs to be about the size of peas, something like that. You don't want them to be real big. But as I said, if you do this for too long, then it sort of starts getting together into more of a paste, and that's going to be really hard to put on top of your apple crisp. So once you've got it so that it's kind of crumbly, just stop, don't keep going. So mine's almost good. Just maybe going to do it a little bit more. Okay, so I think that looks good. So then all you have to do is dump that on top of your apples. So this is a really easy recipe, but it will be delicious when it's done. So you're going to take the apples, you're just going to dump that. If you kind of just dump it all in the middle first, and then once you've dumped it all in the middle, you can just use your fingers to spread it out. And of course I washed my hands before I started, so my hands are clean. Okay, so you just want to spread it out evenly. Now, the one thing that you probably don't want to forget to put in there, which I did, is the cinnamon. So I'm going to spread my cinnamon on top now. And I'm just going to use my fingers to mix that in. But the cinnamon should have gone in with the flour and the brown sugar and the butter and the oatmeal. Okay, so there's our cinnamon on top too. So you should have preheated your oven at the beginning to 350, which I did. So I'm going to put this in the oven, and then we need to wait about 30 minutes, and we'll see what it looks like after that. So my timer just went off. 30 minutes is up, so we're just going to check on the apple crisp. We pull it out a bit, so it's nice and crisp looking and bubbling, so it is done. So you're just going to put it on a rack to cool a little bit, and you have a lovely dessert made with nice local apples.